Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Chandie Speaks podcast. It's your girl, Chandie. I'm still trying to figure out my levels here, but I'm back. We're back another week. That was my super cool intro. I'm recording this pretty late today because normally I do this like first thing in the morning, but I was just so tired. Y'all, it's just been so hot to like do anything. But anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks for coming back. Today is Tuesday, July 28th. It is the last Tuesday in July 2026. This is going to be for Wednesday, July 29th. Tomorrow. I'm sure you can hear my lack of enthusiasm. I don't really have many notes this week. I tried to take some notes, but it's just been too hot. It's just been, like I said, I have not been motivated to really have a life outside of work. I'm grateful that I work in the hospitality industry. I work in the hotel at night, and I also work at a bed and breakfast during the day, part-time. So right now, you can't see the video version of this if you're listening, but right now, I'm recording this from an air-conditioned bed and B&B, and I don't have much time actually, so I'm just going to try and get through this. So what happened? I say like the biggest thing that happened this week was, I guess in my personal life, the biggest thing that's happened since last week was my car problems. I finally figured out my car problems this week. Get this. It was a fucking alternator. It was an alternator. I drive a 2014 Ram ProMaster. Highly do not recommend. It's probably the worst kind of car to get into unless you just want to pour money into maintaining it and keeping it alive. It's like that's all I've been doing since I got this van. I got it in 2024 and I've already changed the alternator twice. This is the second time I've had an alternator. Do alternators last more than a year? Because it feels like I've changed an alternator every year that I've owned this car. Yeah, and then on top of that, this is the kicker right here. In order for them to get to my alternator, like I've lived in my van for years, so an alternator is usually like a really quick job, right? Oh no, but not on a Ram ProMaster. On a Ram ProMaster, they have to drop my entire air compressor and like all this kind of shit. They have to like play Tetris with like all these other parts in my van just to get to my alternator. And with labor and parts and out the door, it was $927 and some change. $927 for a fucking alternator. And I think I got a discount on it. I actually talked her down. If I was just a regular person, they were trying to charge me $1,300 for a fucking alternator. I'm pretty sure that's happened last year. If y'all go back to my episode of like between June-ish, early June of 2025, I'm pretty sure that the same fucking thing happened to me last time where I had to get an alternator and the closest shop was like, I don't know, a half a mile. This is in Georgia. And they told me it was going to be like $1,200 for a fucking alternator and a battery or something. Probably for the same reason, because they had to drop all this other shit. Well, I don't know if you guys remember that episode, but I did not pay $1,200. I ended up actually getting a full-blown charity. They like straight just did my alternator for free. Shout out to that mechanic shop in Georgia, North Georgia. But this time, yeah, I had to like talk her down from $1,300. Bless their hearts, over here in West Sedona. I don't even actually think I want to put the name of their business on here because I'm not even really impressed. I mean, I'm grateful that I was able to afford to drop $1,000 on a fucking alternator this past week, but I just would have rather not have. But that's what you get when you don't know how to fix your own fucking car. So yeah, that's basically the biggest news that happened. That I got a new alternator. It basically cost me $1,000. I had to talk her down to $1,000. And they said that in order for me to have my AC blow out cold air, they'd have to recharge my air compressor. And of course, there's a fee for that. She was trying to charge me $210 to recharge my air compressor. Now, mind you, I just dropped $930 on an alternator. So no, I don't have an extra $200 laying around for air compressor. I think I'm just going to suffer. Wrong idea. Highly do not recommend. Highly do not recommend living, staying, visiting, even passing through Arizona without air conditioning. So that's where I'm at right now. It's been like almost a week since I got my alternator fixed, and I have no air conditioner. And yeah, it's a pain in the fucking ass. Yesterday, the high for the day was 96 degrees yesterday, and it reached 96 degrees by 10 o'clock. 11 o'clock, it was like 96 degrees. And then the low for the day yesterday was 73 degrees. That's the lowest that the temperature went. And guess what time we hit 73 degrees? At like 4 o'clock in the fucking morning. It was like 80 degrees at least all fucking day and night up until it got low enough around 4 o'clock in the morning to 73 degrees. That's the lowest. And then it started going up from there. Okay. It has not been under, like, it's been averaging 90. We've actually an extreme heat warning. That's what my weather app says, that we are in extreme heat warning. This is my first July being in Arizona ever, and I gotta say these past 7 days is probably the hottest week of the year. It's fucking ridiculous. So I just want to give thanks to all the people I'm grateful for who let me soak up their AC for free, like my friends, my jobs, fucking the Chipotle, anywhere that lets me sit down and not sweat my tits off. I know, I'm sure you guys needed a weather report. Well, yeah, basically, yeah. The van for me has like been the big thing. So I'm basically avoiding my van like the plague. I don't even look at my van during peak hours because it's just no point. It was hardly bearable in there with the air conditioner. Now without an air conditioner, I gotta be stupid if I go sit in that car right now. People look at me stupid. I'm sure. That's how it is. I highly do not recommend summer in Arizona. Like, unless you're like a lizard person. Like, I don't know why people choose to live here in the fucking heat. Okay, so I don't really have many notes this week. I'm kind of not really in the mood to record this. Like I said, it's 3 o'clock right now. I gotta go to work tonight, and I'm, halfway enthused about it. But yeah, that was my big thing, the alternator last week. And it's probably not even the problem. There's always something going on. Like, the car is driving better. Actually, it has been driving better since I got the new alternator. But then, like, just this morning, my check engine light popped on. I don't know what the fuck that's been about. My check engine light just pops on and off whenever it wants. It's kind of like that friend who doesn't get the hint that we don't want you there, but they just keep showing up. Yeah, that's my check engine light. Like, you're not telling me what you're doing. Every time I go and get it checked, they're saying, hey, you need a new transmission. So I'm like, okay, cool. I don't have $7,000 laying around for a new transmission, so I'm gonna just ignore this check engine light. And then it goes off after a few days, and then it comes back on after a few days. I don't know, bro. I really don't care. I have to book a flight soon. I can't be thinking about car problems. I'm sorry if that sounds irresponsible. Not sorry, but I can't afford to be dropping $1,000 on something that's not even gonna be the reason, the thing that it needs. You know what I mean? Like, if I drop $900 on anything, I better not have any blinking lights. Okay, and a full tank of gas. Fuck you mean? All right, well, I wanted to talk about, how do you guys feel about your friends, best friends or close friends or whatever have you, a friend who was there the entire time of like your relationship? How do you guys feel about your best friends or your friends remaining friends with your ex, like after you guys break up? I always thought that was weird. I don't know why that topic came in. I mean, I kind of know why that topic came up, and I jotted it down. But let me go through a little story time. Okay, let's go back to 2017. So in 2017, I was living in Denver, Colorado. Actually, we can even go further back to 2014, because that's when we started dating. I was dating this guy. We met up in Denver, Colorado. We hit it off instantly. And in total, we were together for 27 months. So a little over 2 years. We met on a dating app. He had, we were very compatible right away. This was back when I had my German Shepherd. My German Shepherd was like 3 months old. Like, this was a while ago. Back when dating apps were still useful. Man, the golden, I'm going to go off on a little tangent, but the golden era of dating apps is long gone, okay? It used to be way better. Now, I would not be caught dead on a dating app, but back in the day, it used to be used properly, the intended purposes. Everyone met the love of their life. A lot of people who got on dating apps in the golden years are now like married to like the love of their life. A lot of them, not everyone. So this guy was supposedly was going to be the love of my life. We hit it off really well. We stayed in Denver, Colorado. We lived together. He was a mason, like a bricklayer, not like a Freemason. I don't know actually what the fucking difference is, but he was a bricklayer. And I worked in the medical marijuana industry. I like trimmed weed and shit like that. Well, about, I'm going to say like 3 months in, like hardly 3 months into dating this guy, he starts showing his true colors. Like, he starts being verbally abusive. He starts being physically abusive. He's lying. He's, just not being the best partner. Now, of course, I was like 23 years old, so I stayed with this guy. I'm taking accountability for the young, dumb version of myself. However, during the time, it's kind of hard to see while you're in it. So yeah, I stayed with the verbally and physically abusive man for 2 years. He convinced me to get into van life. You guys know about this guy. I've talked about him. Whenever I talk about my van life origin story, this is it. He's it. Okay, he was a recovering drug addict. Bless his heart. So he was a pathological liar, chronically homeless. He just could not keep a roof over his head. He cannot keep a job, and that's just a part of who he is. I'm just trying to paint the picture. Well, very abusive relationship. Eventually, I broke free. We moved to California together, and we were completely nomadic, and we slept on the sidewalks. For me, even now in hindsight, it's some of the best months of my life. I'll always believe that. But it was trying for us. So we eventually broke up. I eventually just left him out in California, and I took a Greyhound and my dog and my guitar, and we made it back to Colorado, where I eventually fell in love with my self-proclaimed narcissist ex-husband. That's a different story. So after me and this other guy broke up, I had this one friend, quote friend, who for some reason thought it was a great idea to maintain friendship with him. Now, a little background on this friend. This was back in my raver days. I was like early 20s. I was probably between 23 and 25 when all this was happening. Okay. So I was really young. I was just getting into the rave scene, the EDM scene. I was doing a lot of psychedelic drugs. I was, partying, doing a lot of other kind of drugs. Not a lot of other kind of drugs. Just insert your typical party drugs, and I probably did it, most likely. It was a wild time. And this friend of mine, I had like a group. I remember I had a group of friends who were just like baddies. This one particular friend, I've known her since she wasn't a baddie. Like when I first moved to Colorado, this little girl was like 17 years old and I was like 21. And she had braces. She was very insecure. She didn't smile. But I tell you, when she got her braces off, she grew up into her own face and her own body, respectfully. And she got more confident. And she became a little baddie, a little hot baddie. Perfect teeth, she got her braces off. She's grown now. She's 18 now. Everybody wants her, right? I'm just grateful because I'm like, oh, look, my friends are baddies. All my friends are baddies. Well, she's come to our house while we were together, me and that ex. We were together for 2 years since. So she's come over to our house. She's hung out with us. She's gone to shows with us, actually. I remember seeing her at Red Rocks. Every time we went to Red Rocks for like an EDM show or Lotus or anything, we'd always see her there. Well, right before we broke up, I remember my ex-boyfriend confessing to me He was like, he was convinced that I was cheating on him. I wasn't. I don't cheat. But he was convinced that I was cheating on him with one of his friends. And I was like, dude, I don't even like your friends. I'm like, if I had to choose one friend, I think I named off his most attractive friend who was essentially a bum. Like, I was not on that. But then I flipped it and I asked him, I was like, what about you? If you could sleep or bang one of my friends, sleep with or bang one of my friends, who would it be? And he named the formerly awkward brace face baddie. And I was like, oh, yeah, she's hot. I get that. Well, after we broke up, flash forward like 2 years, he sent her a friend request apparently, and she accepted. Once I saw that she was friends with my ex, I basically deleted her as a friend. And I explained myself to her. And I remember making a post too, because I was heartbroken. I was like, you can't be friends with my ex and also be friends with me. And I'm sure that's a controversial topic between a lot of relationships. But in this particular circumstance, in fact, I encourage any other relationship that sort of ended in, like mine, physical and verbal abuse, like you need to cut that off. Cut it off 100%, including the friendships that came from that. I think that's like the ultimate form of betrayal. I told her, I was like, you being friends with a man who physically abused me, lied, stole. He spent our rent money gambling. Okay. The guy had addictive personality. He spent, like, he was not responsible. He was probably, the top 5 worst love partners I could ever have. But my friend remained friends with him. And when I told her why she shouldn't remain friends with him, she did not. She chose to be friends with him, because she's a hot baddie, and in her mind, validation and attention from a man is like the most important thing. Yeah, she was like 19 at the time, so I guess I shouldn't have expected her to understand where I was coming from. So yeah, he's trying to fuck, she's trying to get attention. I don't want anything to do with either one of you guys. So yeah, that was my story. To this day, I have not talked to her. We used to be very, very close. Like, I can expect a man to be, a man and be abusive and controlling or whatever. But a friend, this is the point. When you break up, when you go through these breakups, that's where you really find out who your real friends are. Real friends are. And I, not that she was my best friend, but we were pretty fucking close. I remember she broke up with her guy like a couple years before, and she came over to my house and she was just crying, bawling out. And this is way before I even dated my ex. We were just friends, women just trying to navigate life together. And I remember she came to my house one time crying because she was just heartbroken that he cheated on her. And I remember giving her like the best pep talk that I could ever think of. And I also gave her the movie, He's Just Not That Into You. And like, I was like, here, keep this movie. This is for you. And I gave her the best pep talk. We were friends. So for her to go around and just not see anything, like the bigger picture, and just be like, oh, well, he's hot. I know him. He likes me. I just think that's ultimate betrayal. It's ultimate, like, from a friend. Your friends aren't supposed to do that. My marriage, even, he quote cheated on me, meaning he got into a bed with another woman, but he did not have intercourse with her. In my head, that's cheating. You guys know this story already. This is my ex-husband we're talking about. Well, anyway, for sake of argument, he cheated. I filed for divorce. Like, the day I filed for divorce, my best friend in Denver, Colorado, blocked him. To this day. That's what best friends are supposed to do. She's like, oh. She came to our wedding. She's been in our house. We were there at her engagement party now that she's married and stuff. But as soon as I said, yo, I'm filing for divorce, I'm getting divorced, I have hardly even had to give her a reason why we were getting a divorce. All I had to do is say, hey, he's dead to me, so that means, and she's like, say less. She blocked him immediately. That's a real friend. Even if I was wrong, she would have still blocked him, because that's what friends do. It's just, like I said, it really shows who your real friends are when you break up with someone. Anyway, I'm going to read this article. It's called The Ethics of Loyalty and Post-Breakup Boundaries, because I think we all have to have boundaries. Okay, so, and these are from sources. It's all consolidated, and to give me this really cool reading piece, it says, deciding to end a friendship with a best friend's boyfriend after their breakup is often rooted in the need to protect the primary friendship, prevent psychological harm, and avoid being drawn into destructive relational patterns. That's basically what it came down to. When the friend chooses your ex over you, they are not really focused on protecting your friendship. I mean, I get in some cases you start out with being they're your closest friend, and then by the end of the relationship they actually became more closer to your ex. So I can understand it's hard for them to make a decision. I think in that situation I would just stay out of it completely. Like, you just lost two friends. I don't know. I think it's weird. This is another reason why I don't think men and women should be friends. Men should just hang out with men as their friends, and women should just hang out with women as their friends. We kind of get each other. And then when times like this happens, when a woman breaks up with a man or vice versa, you won't have to worry about your girlfriends being friends with him or his guy friends being friends with you, because y'all weren't talking anyway. It's just weird. God, I can't tell you. Now I'm getting sidetracked. Before I want to read this, I can't tell you how many times that's happened to me. I feel like it's like a rite of passage. Have you really been betrayed if your best friend didn't choose your ex over you or stood up for you? I'm going to give you one more story, and then I'm going to finish this article. Now, this story goes even further back. I was in high school when this shit was happening, probably fresh out of high school. I think I was like 18 years old. Yeah, I must have been 18 years old, because I wasn't living at home. I was living with my high school sweetheart at the time. My high school sweetheart, we were together since I was a sophomore and he was a junior. Or the other way around. I think I was a junior, he was a senior, and then I was a senior and he had already had his own place. And then when I graduated, I moved in with him. We were high school sweethearts. He was like my favorite person. Bless his heart, bless his family. He had a rough childhood. We related to each other. There's no one like your high school sweetheart, okay? We were supposed to have 1 million babies by now, okay? He sold weed. He was like the weed guy in high school, so I was like the cool girl for dating the weed plug. Anyway, I remember. I would say I will never forget, but I actually didn't even. I almost forgot. I haven't even thought about it in years until I started talking about this topic. So, to the best of my memory, I remember we were sitting in the living room and we were playing video games. I think they were actually playing video games. It was my ex and his friend. Now, keep in mind that his friend was still in high school. Like, I think I was a senior and his friend must have been like a sophomore, and he was, out of high school. The only reason why they were actually friends was because my ex was in behavioral disorderly class. We called it BD. It's basically a separate class where they put all the kids that got into fights or couldn't handle their emotions or, troublemakers. They put them all in one class together. So that's the only way that this young guy, he's like 16, sophomore, was even like in the same, room with this 19-year-old man, right? Young man. So, the sophomore, he also, my ex had anger problems, of course, at that young age with a single mom. It's kind of hard not to be a young man with anger problems, so I get it. But his friend, I knew his friend way before he knew his friend. His friend actually knew my little sister. He had a crush. I remember this guy, he actually had a crush on myself and my little sister, and he asked us both out at one point during our childhood, and we both turned him down. Bless his heart. He's like a little black kid, a little heavy set, going through some emotional problems. He was a nice kid. I did know him before I knew my ex. So I guess on paper, it looks like that he was my friend first. Either fucking way, he knew me longer and he adored me. He like had a big crush on me. And when he found out that I was dating this other guy who just happens to be a white man, he had nothing but love for both of us. He supported both of us. He was like, man, you guys belong together. Yada, yada, yada. Well, he came over one day and they were playing video games in the room. I forgot what led to the other, but it turned, I think I was in the bedroom. Something happened. I forgot what actually switched, but my ex-boyfriend, then boyfriend at the time, this young white man who sold weed, was physically abusing me. Like, he was punching me. He was putting his full body on top of me. He was restraining me and he wouldn't let me go. He was like choking me out. He was just being very abusive. Okay. Physically abusive. And I remember screaming and crying through it. I forgot what the fuck we were fighting about. Probably something, juvenile like weed or other bitches or something like that. I don't fucking know. Well, yeah, it was audibly clear that I was being physically abused in the next room over. And what really blew me was that the black little kid who was sitting in the living room, like just smoking weed, playing video games, he heard it and he didn't come and stop it. I know for damn sure he heard it. He didn't come and stop it. And then after it was all said and done, like, my ex comes out the room, huffing and puffing, and he's just sitting there like, man, are you guys good? Like, at that moment, he decided that his loyalty was with my ex, who was physically abusing a black woman. So that should have told me everything I needed to know about loyalty. Okay. Up until that point, I was God's gift. He was like, man, you're perfect. You guys belong to each other. But then he started physically abusing me in the next room over. Granted, I was young, but still, abuse is abuse. And he just let it happen. There was witnesses and they just let it fucking happen. So, yeah. Another reason why women shouldn't be friends with men. Men's loyalties is usually to other men. Usually. Okay, let me read this article. Oh yeah, we're talking about physical abuse. We're also talking about loyalty. So it says, number 1, preventing perceived betrayal and psychological harm. If the breakup was nasty or involved horrible behavior, maintaining a relationship with the ex can feel like a deep betrayal to your best friend. In cases of toxic or abusive relationships, staying neutral is rarely a neutral act. Literally, if you're playing neutral, you're against me. Okay, you got to pick a side, unfortunately. If you don't want to have to pick a side between your friend and their ex, then you shouldn't even be friends with them while they're dating, because you're going to have to pick a side. It says it can be incredibly harmful to the victim while functionally empowering the abuser. Research indicates that victims of toxic relationships are often crushed when friends, quote, partner with an ex who mistreated them, as it forces the survivor to reconstruct their entire view of who they can trust. Bingo. That's it right there. Oh yeah, you learn real quick who you can trust or not. In the case of my high school sweetheart, I knew that I could not trust that little melanated boy who supposedly said that he was in love with me. Could not trust him. Probably men in general from that point on. Because, come on, how are you going to watch a black queen get beat on? And then in the case of my other ex, who was a recovering drug addict and a pathological liar who dated my hot baddie friend, or wanted to date my hot baddie friend, I knew right then and there that she was not someone I could trust. And in the case of my ex-husband, yeah, I'm wiser, I'm older, so to this day, I don't really have to say much to my best friend Green in Denver, Colorado. Shout out to the Greens. And my blood sister, Cash Go Crazy. Shout out to Cash Go Crazy in Chicago. Those two women, no matter what, even if I'm wrong, they got my back, period. I know for a fact I would trust them with my life. Even if I'm wrong. Okay, that's loyalty right there. But I wasn't wrong. Okay, let me read on. Number 2, it says avoiding the flying monkey and messenger role. Now, this is also crazy. This has happened to me before with my ex-husband. I'm gathering like the flying monkey is like basically the messenger between the two. And this is a slippery fucking slope. When I was going through a divorce with my ex-husband, I was running the pizza shop out in Bailey, Colorado. Not really by choice, mostly by legal obligation. And I also, he fled the state once I filed for divorce. He didn't want to get served his divorce papers, so he fled. But I'm still legally obligated to this business. So I stayed at the business and I ran it by myself for 2.5 months in 2021. Well, during the time, we also had an employee. It was only just myself and my ex-husband who worked the shop, but we also had a third person who worked there who was just like an employee. He was mostly, now in retrospect, he was mostly my ex-husband's friend. But during the time, I could have sworn that I had a friend too. I could have sworn that actually it was me who even started talking to him in the first place to get us all hanging out. Like, we can probably owe him working at this pizza shop and having a relationship with my ex-husband in general to the fact that I opened up and asked him his name. Okay. Well, after my ex-husband fled the state, I still had this motherfucker working. And you can probably guess that he was playing both sides. He's playing dumb. He's playing like he did not ever hear us arguing with each other early in the morning next door. He's pretending that he did not hear my side of the argument, his side of the argument. Well, it turns out he was actually the messenger. And I had to fire him. Long story short, I ended up saying, you know what, you can get the fuck out, because if you're not with me, you're against me. I can't be over here going through a divorce and getting myself ready to be without a spouse when I have someone reporting back to my spouse what I'm doing, sabotaging me, stunting my growth. Oh, he was gone real quick. It took me like a week or so to realize that, okay, you're not here for me. They were cool up until everything started going south. Before I filed for divorce, because he cheated on me, this third person was like our best friend. He hung out with both of us. But as soon as that happened, he picked his side, which I get. But yeah, your actions speak louder than words. And you're picking their side, you can get the fuck out of my store. It was my store at the time. I was running it. So yeah. And that's almost as more heartbreaking than the baddie friend who's just like, I don't know. It just feels like shit thinking that you are talking to someone that you trust and all the while they're just reporting back to your ex. All right, I'm going to read a couple more points and then I'm going to get off this topic. It says avoiding the flying monkey and messenger role. It's very important. So it says, after a breakup, you risk becoming what is colloquially known as a flying monkey, which is a third party who wittingly or unwittingly carries an abusive person's narrative or applies pressure on their behalf. An ex may reach out to you for advice or information about your friend as a way to maintain a connection or, quote, breathe outside the boundaries your friend has set. Functioning as a courier for messages such as relaying how much the ex is hurting can be a tool for proxy abuse, allowing the ex to bypass your friend's no contact boundaries. You understand? I think that's exactly what was going on in my ex-husband's situation. It's like everything seemed like it was good. Look, I'm paying the bills. Look, I'm working. I'm seemingly going to be okay. And then, somehow, the third person would always report back everything, whether I did something right or did something wrong. So now he just has that much control over my life. It's super sticky. I had to get rid of him quick. Don't be friends with, you got to pick a side. Okay, number 3, ending destructive triangulation. Triangulation occurs when communication or conflict is rooted through a third person instead of being handled directly. Being the, quote, middle person in a post-breakup conflict creates intense anxiety, stress, and a lack of safety for you, as you are forced to perform extra emotional labor to manage their discord. This dynamic, sometimes called a psychological threesome, drains your nervous system and prevents the original parties from reaching an actual resolution. It just prolongs your healing. Protecting your friend's healing process healing after a significant relationship requires emotional detachment. It requires emotional detachment. Another reason why I don't stay friends with any of my exes. It's counterproductive. I think I took notes on that as well. But your continued friendship with the ex may cause your best friend to ruminate or overthink, as not knowing what is being said about them can trigger intense distress. For your friend to successfully move through the grieving process and reclaim their identity, they often need their supporters to focus entirely on their recovery rather than maintaining a bridge to the past. And then last but not least, this last point, it says prioritizing loyalty in interconnected networks. In small or highly networked social and professional circles, a narrative can travel rapidly, and a friend's decision to stay friendly with an ex can legitimize a smear campaign or a distorted version of events. Take it from me, that definitely happens. I mean, low-key, that third friend with my ex-husband was probably always kind of like a shady, untrustworthy person, but his true colors really showed out when he had to be caught in the middle of it. And yeah, it was like, I'm pretty sure there was a smear campaign. Like I said, I couldn't say or do anything without it getting back to my ex-husband, who was thousands of miles away. Remember, he fled the state, but he still had control over everything that was going on in the shop because of that third party. Okay. And it kept me back for a little time until I got hip to it. And then, until I fired that guy, it was really kind of keeping me stuck. So it says, in small or highly networked social and professional circles, a narrative can travel rapidly, and a friend's decision to stay friendly with an ex can legitimize a smear campaign or distorted version of events. While it may feel respectful to try to remain friends with both, this often backfires, as one party may eventually set a boundary that they cannot engage with you if you remain close to the person who hurt them. This should be like common sense. I don't know who's more guilty, the men or the women. Do we see more women being friends with their best friend's ex, or do we see more men being friends with their best friend's ex? I think it's probably maybe half and half. I actually don't have any examples of either one that's more or less. I think it's both. People just do it. I think people have a fear of being alone or being left out, and especially in women's cases, they crave external validation, especially from a male. They crave the male gaze, even if that gaze is coming from a man who physically and emotionally abused their best friend. Women be kind of, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit more on the women's side, but yeah, it's just not right. It says, ultimately, people often choose to distance themselves because loyal people stay loyal to those who have been there for them rather than following the, quote, path of least resistance by staying friendly with a former partner who caused harm. Like I said, if you don't want to choose, just don't get involved. I think that was a good story time, huh? I have another article about, sort of similar to the topic, about staying friends with your ex, which I'm going to read over right now. You guys already know my beliefs on it. I don't think it's possible for men and women to be friends in general, but especially if they're your former partner, I think it's counterproductive to remain friends with your ex. It's hardly ever, you hardly ever see people who mutually break up before things get bad, right? If things aren't bad, people usually stay together. It's actually kind of sad to think about a happily married couple that ends in divorce. No happily married couple ends in divorce, okay? So I'm just assuming that anyone who's breaking up with their partner, their spouse, that it was not a good relationship. It was not a good relationship. Therefore, you need to give yourself some space and some time to grieve, even if it's just a little bit of time, because it was not you need to get back to your baseline, your identity before you were with that partner. Healing. And that stuff is sort of put on a hold if you keep the thing that hurt you in your life. Okay, the thing that hurt you won't be the thing that heals you. And I had to learn the hard way. Okay. I remained friends with my ex-husband for years. We've been divorced since 2021. And in 2024, I finally walked away and said, that's enough. It's been over a year since I even heard the sound of his voice. I'm not going to say that I don't think about him from time to time, but yeah, like weeks and months would go by now where I won't even think about the good times or the bad times or him in general. When at first, the first couple years, I was wondering if I would ever get myself to a place where I feel like I'm healed from that. And I was too proud, I guess, to accept that possibly, most likely, the reason why my healing has been delayed is because I'm still communicating with the motherfucker. Listen, we have even had post-divorce intercourse multiple times. Hey, I'm not my proudest moment, but you guys think that having a sexual relationship with your abusive, narcissistic ex-husband, do you think that would help you heal from the pain faster or slower? Right? When you say it like that, no, it doesn't. I read this article. It says remaining friends with a man after a breakup is a complex endeavor that many experts suggest can be detrimental to your emotional healing, personal growth, and future relationships. And I'm going to read a couple of these bullet points. Listen, I really don't like to hear anyone who's trying to sell me that fucking delusional fantasy that you can stay friends with your ex. I don't listen to those people. I don't like listening to men or women who say that, yeah, you can be friends with the opposite sex, okay? Because a part of them, in my head, when I hear that, I'm saying that, okay, you just can't be alone. You just are uncomfortable with your own self. You don't think you matter unless a man is giving you validation or if a woman is giving you validation. When I hear men and women saying that they can be friends, hey, I don't care. I don't care how I sound. But then I even feel like even more some type of way because when they are like, oh, they were my ex and I'm still friends with him. Why? What the fuck? Why? It says this article, just a bunch of sources consolidated. Number one, it says it delays essential emotional detachment. The primary reason to avoid staying friends is that it often functions as a way of holding on rather than healing. Friendship after a breakup requires a level of emotional detachment and boundary clarity that most people do not possess immediately. And I was guilty of it, slipping into old roles, the familiarity, it feels familiar. Without significant time apart, ex-partners frequently slip back into old roles, using each other for emotional comfort in a way that is, quote, unclean and delays the process of moving on. There's the detox period. One of the most critical steps in healing is the 60-day, quote, detox rule, which mandates zero contact. This period is necessary to regain emotional control and clarity without the ex's influence. Reaching out too soon displays vulnerability and often leads to backsliding, reconnecting in a way that undermines your breakover goals. Y'all hear that? There's risks of manipulation and triangulation. Maintaining a connection can leave you vulnerable to covert forms of emotional abuse, such as triangulation. You have your exes as rivals, proxy abuse and flying monkeys, a psychological threesome. You guys know about that. A man may use a continued friendship to manipulate your emotions by comparing you to an ex or a new partner, effectively setting you up to compete for approval that is never fully granted. The psychological threesome is crazy too. This dynamic has been described as a psychological threesome you didn't consent to, where the manipulator curates different versions of themselves to different audiences to avoid accountability and maintain power. I think that's probably like the superpower of the self-proclaimed narcissist that was my ex-husband, because, and I'm sure like many other people who are experiencing life with narcissistic personality disorder, I do think it's a personality disorder, but that's a different conversation. But yeah, he had this, and I saw it, but I can't say that I see it because then I look crazy. Okay. That's the narcissistic's secret power of control. They'll go around and they behave like some saint in front of everybody. Everybody has like a different version of your ex in their head, but it's all positive. It's all like, what? Like he would never say that. He would never do that. He's like, he's an angel. So, on the surface, when you're going, when things are going good, it looks like, oh, cool. Look, my partner is very charismatic. Everybody likes him. He can do no wrong. But when you guys are going through it in the breakup, now the only thing that the people around are going off of is what they saw with their own eyes and what you're telling them. So if they see your ex-husband being like, someone who's kissing babies and walking old ladies across the street, they're not going to listen to you when you tell them that you saw them like punt a fucking baby and like push an old lady down the stairs. They're not going to believe that. Even if that did happen, they'll be like, no, him? No, he would never push a lady down the stairs. That shit happens. It's like a psychological fucking play. And it's tricky because it's not that I'm actually trying to convince anybody that he's the villain. I'm just trying to present the facts. And no one wants to listen to the facts because they're just going off of what they believe, I guess, what they know about that person. Very, very tricky. Anytime someone's like, oh, everybody likes that person, like, I can't trust a man who don't have any enemies. Really? Everybody likes you? You don't have anybody who hates on you at all. No, my ex-husband was perfect man of the community. Everybody loved him. So nobody believed me when I said that he was actually psychologically abusing me. I call it psychological rape, but that may be too harsh for people. The psychological, emotional abuse for 4.5 years. He never put his hands on me, but it was fucking hell. It was fucking hell, and no one believed me. In the entire community, small mountain town in Bailey, Colorado, no one was on my back. So I had to get the fuck out of town. I had to go find my support system. Yeah, that shit's crazy. Number 3, interference with future relationships. Staying close to an ex-boyfriend can be a major red flag in a new romantic partnership. We have blurred lines, like lingering feelings or unresolved issues from the past can unintentionally bleed into current relationships, causing jealousy, insecurity, and a lack of safety. Just don't do it. This is also a good point. The illusion of closure. Many people attempt to stay friends because they seek closure, but the sources suggest that true closure often comes from closing the chapter entirely. And I know I've been guilty of this in the past. I want so bad to just know where it went wrong and why it went wrong, and to get that closure and to get my answers. But sometimes, not having an answer is the best answer. Not knowing why or where or the details, not getting that closure is the closure that you needed. It's like a fake closure, going to the thing that you need closure from to get closure. It's counterproductive. It says the emotional waiting room. If one person secretly hopes for reconciliation, the friendship becomes an emotional trap or an emotional waiting room where healing is stifled. Yeah. And then last but not least, protection and toxic patterns. If the breakup was nasty or involved toxic behavior, staying friends can be physically and mentally exhausting. There's internalizing criticism and your nervous system regulation, which I think is the most important thing. If your nervous system settles in his absence, that is vital data that the relationship was harmful. You see that? A lot of people think that when they feel butterflies or that tingly feeling in their guts and their stomach when they meet someone new, that's a good thing. It's not. That is your nervous system warning you, trying to protect you, saying, hey, it's not actually supposed to be this way. I don't know where we lost that, where we got that idea, probably in Disney movies or something. Oh, I get butterflies in my stomach. No, that's your nervous system trying to warn you. There's something happening. And if you're always like wondering like, okay, why am I never calm around him? But when he's not around, then now your body can be calm. That should be your first sign that it was him. Okay. Staying friends forces your brain to remain in a state of high arousal and survival mode, which stunts your personal growth. So ultimately, while the intention to remain friendly may seem noble, the most honest act of healing is often to choose yourself and close the door completely. I think that was a good read, right? So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this TikTok post that I made in the comments and then probably get out of here. That took a lot of me out of me. Just talking a lot. Okay, let's see what I made. So I made this post 2 days ago on TikTok. If you're not already following me on TikTok, go follow me. It's Chandie Speaks. I'm on YouTube, TikTok, Spotify, Threads. I'm everywhere. Facebook. Thanks for listening if you're listening this far. This post that I made on TikTok, it's a public post. I made it 2 days ago. It's got almost 500 views, 22 comments. I'm just going to read the post. And then the comments, where did I even get this statement from? The post itself says, many married women are unpaid sex workers. You guys know how I do. You guys know I always like phrasing my posts the way I do to get some kind of reaction or discussion going from people. I'm learning that most of the people who are online in general are women. So statistically speaking, if you're going to offend anybody online, it's going to be a woman. And then you go over to the demographics of TikTok. Most people on TikTok are like under the age of 25. Okay, most people. So I don't know. Do with what you will with that information. But what did I mean by that post? Many married women are unpaid sex workers. Exactly kind of what it says. A lot of men, prehistoric beta males, have it in their head that sex is a requirement for a married woman, and it's just not. It just isn't. Men think that just because, you pay for their food or pay their bills or, financially support a woman, that she owes you her body. And I'm sorry to be the one to tell you that's just not the case. Sidebar, kind of related story. I don't have many facts about this. I just saw some clips online, but Usher, oh my God, do I even want to talk about this? I think I want to talk about this in my music segment, but it's less about music and more about smut. Usher. For anyone who's been living under a rock, or if you don't listen to R&B music, Usher is an R&B singer who was very popular when I was growing up in the 90s. He became famous from, I don't know, I think he was really a big Bobby Brown fan. I think he was a really good dancer, a really good singer when he was younger. And I'm pretty sure he was discovered or brought up by the diddler himself. Okay. There's a lot of rumors going around with Usher and Diddy about how Usher was really young and that maybe he was just taken advantage of sexually by Diddy. So I'm just saying all that to paint the picture of who Usher is. Now, here we are in 2026, post Diddy allegations, post Me Too movement, post fucking the president having rape allegations. This is a climate that you should not be behaving as you were in the 90s. Okay. Usher made a very big living, a really great living for himself in his younger years, kind of doing the R. Kelly thing on stage by just grinding the stage, bringing up women on stage and, hand feeding them fruit and dry humping them and making out with them even. This is the golden era of R&B was actually kind of gross when you think about it. R. Kelly probably led the way. Bobby Brown, Chris Brown, Usher, Trey Songz, all these in my youth, they were sexualizing us. They were priming us and getting us ready. Now, as an adult, as a 37-year-old black woman who has seen some shit, and I have two nieces who's growing up right now with these kind of men. I'm sorry, I'm not thoroughly impressed at all when I see a grown-ass man. He's almost 50, by the way. Okay. He's probably over 50. I don't want to see a grown-ass man grinding up on strange women non-consensually. That's his whole show. Him and Chris Brown are on tour right now, and I've done my best to stay out of like the clips online. You know, some of it comes through, so I have no choice but to see. But just off of glance, I don't watch anything like that. It feels like smut, and I like whoring myself out just like any other woman. But looking at Usher and Chris Brown in concert behave the way they do, it feels very, very smutty. It feels dark. It feels over sexualized. It feels demonic almost. Well, I'm sure everyone's heard this story, right? But in the past week, I'm going to report it right now, which I just learned yesterday. This woman was pretty enough. She had pretty privilege, is what people would call it. She was sitting, before the show started, she was sitting with her mom at this Usher Chris Brown tour concert. And she was picked with a bunch of other people randomly to go to the VIP. And they were told that they would possibly get a chance to go on stage. She's beautiful, she's cute, so her and her mom get upgraded to VIP. According to this girl, from what I read online, she was just there for Chris Brown. But when the time came, they got her on stage with Usher. This girl is probably at most 22 years old. So basically, she was brought on stage with someone the same age as her father, 50-year-old Usher, who started, I can't even, it's kind of gross. He started touching her. I mean, she didn't necessarily put up a fight, but I guess he felt like since she was on stage that she consented to being touched by him. A lot of people online, I don't know anyone who's talking about this in real life, but people online were kind of upset because, you know, they said that she wasted an opportunity. Can you guys hear yourself? What fucking opportunity did she waste? She wasted an opportunity to be groped by a sweaty old man old enough to be your dad? You see, she's got pretty privilege. Do you think she needs to have a sweaty old man touching her like that? I'm pretty sure she's capable and finding someone within her own age range to grope her. But no, she apparently, when she agreed to go on stage, she apparently also agreed to be rubbed up on, humped up on by this 50-year-old R&B singer. And then he tried to kiss her and she leaned back, basically rejected him visually in front of thousands of people. Respect to that woman. And his ego shattered immediately. And I wasn't even going to talk about this, but I'm just like, where the fuck do you get off, Usher? Like, I used to be a big Usher fan, but just knowing what I know now, I don't feel sad for him. I feel disgusted with him. I feel like he should probably be in jail with Diddy, maybe at a lesser, like a lower tier. But I feel like, birds of a feather flock together. I'm pretty fucking sure he has some sexual assault accusations. I don't care. If I'm wrong, if I'm lying, I'm flying economy. Somebody send me the links that said that Usher has never sexually assaulted a woman, because he has it all in his energy and his aura. The way that he performs on stage is like a 14, 13-year-old me most definitely would have shat herself. Okay. But now at my big age, I can't see a young girl on stage being groped on by a grown-ass fucking man who already has a history of some kind of sexual abuse and some kind of sexual trauma, deviance. And not to mention, like, the climate that we're in. We're just not doing that anymore. Okay? The golden era of grinding your audience members on stage as an R&B singer, that's gone. That's way gone. You can just see it in his eyes that he's just waiting to sexually assault somebody. I don't trust his eyes. I'm sorry. He's got Trey Songz eyes. He's got Diddy eyes, which is worse. So yeah, that happened. And everybody online was giving this girl a hard time for, having respect for herself, for going up on stage just because she wanted to experience going up on stage, not because she wanted to be fucking molested in front of thousands of people and her mother. It's crazy. We're giving these celebrities way too much credit. And I never thought I would say, no, I did. It's gross. We should not be giving this much power to these celebrities. But anyway, going back to my TikTok post, many married women are unpaid sex workers. It kind of brings me back to this. It's kind of relating to the topic because, yeah, men think that just because a woman is around them or that she's choosing to be in their presence, that she's consenting. That's not consent. If you didn't fucking know already, consent is not just being in the presence. It's a verbal yes or no. That's it. It's a full sentence. So, no amount of free meals or rides or jewelry or clothes or shopping sprees or hours spent. You can't just clock in and then expect to like add up time or some right to my body. Come on. But men really do that. Men really believe that, especially married men. I firmly believe that a lot of men want to get married in general so that they can have an unlimited source of fucking pussy. Really. And that's just not how it works. Your wife is not obligated. There's no law that says your wife has to sleep with you. But they do. Bless their hearts. So I'm going to read these comments and probably get on out of here. Many married women are unpaid sex workers. I'm going to read the comments. It's a public post. Go find it. Chandie speaks. Jimbo says, and yet they have free will. Which I agree. You do have personal accountability that comes with it. I'm all for personal accountability and being responsible for your own actions. However, and I'm not trying to pick sides, but I'm just trying to keep it real. How many times, ladies, show of hands, how many times did you get a trial subscription version of a man just to discover later down the line that he was lying about his entire identity? Women do it too, but men do it as well, where they come off as this perfect person, and then later down the line, once you're emotionally bonded and connected with them, they just completely flip and they're a completely different person. I used to come down on women saying, hey, if he's a deadbeat dad, why did you have a baby with him if you knew he was a deadbeat? I used to come down on women for that. But when I think about it, I'm like, there are plenty of men out there who don't show that they're deadbeats at first. They're like really great actors. They're great liars. It's like they live their whole life trying to manipulate women. A man will live a whole other fucking double life under a lie, just the possibility of getting pussy. So, yeah, I don't blame those women. A lot of people in this comment thread was, not a lot of people, but a few people were just like, wow, frats. This guy said, wow. And I responded, it's a hard pill to swallow for some. Well, frats responded, women with this disdain for men should remain single or admit to being lesbian and enjoy that life. So he's, hurt in some way because it's not a disdain for men by stating that many married women are unpaid sex work. That's not at all where I was. If anything, you should take some time to reflect on your role in all of this. But he didn't. He just doubled down and told me that women should remain single. And I said, oh, look, it's the you should man. It's always funny when it's like, you should do this, you should do that. Nigga, I don't know you. I don't actually give a shit about anything you have to say. You should keep your opinions to yourself. We had a few people who agree. Blueberry Dean Bean said 100%. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot said, oh snap, like, yeah, you have a point there. We have more butthurt men about this statement, or just men who aren't willing to look at themselves. Tall Dark says, sorry for the pain you must be in. So they're projecting. Roy says, the house, car, vacation, all bills paid, etc. is payment enough for unenthusiastic sex once a month, Brenda. That's where their mind is. They really believe that all they got to do is get you a house, car, pay your bills, and then they're entitled to sex. Like it's a payment for sex. And he said something like, that's enough for unenthusiastic sex once a month. So that should tell you that the fact that you're paying all these bills and taking care of her financially has nothing to do with her level of enthusiasm or the frequency in which she wants to sleep with you. Maybe think about that. Just saying. Jaslyn responded to that beta male's comment saying, "Why is a marriage transactional in any way? You proved her point." User 7565 with a bunch of other numbers that I'm not going to read responded to her saying, "Everything in life is transactional, including marriage." And then they go on basically debating what transactions mean. And to a certain extent, yes, I kind of agree. Relationships, most relationships, all relationships, to a certain extent, can be, if not are, transactional. You know, there has to be some kind of reciprocation, right? Unfortunately, like that may just be like the hard reality, the hard truth that women especially will just have to accept, that unconditional love is usually just reserved for kids and dogs. You know, adult men, adult women, like, yeah, they're usually expected to bring something in order to get something out. That's just kind of how it is, unfortunately. Or not unfortunately, maybe that's just the natural order of things. Tyler writes, "What a stupid take." I don't respond to these people who don't. Actually, I don't really respond to anyone. I kind of just let people come on here and word vomit. If I want to push the algorithm along, I'll reply to a comment or so, but for the most part, I kind of just let it unravel the way that it's going to. Ravensworth agreed. She said 100. Yeah, many women probably feel that way. Like, I know I've talked about this before, but on my night of my marriage, the night that I got married, I felt, well, really, as I was signing my new name on the marriage certificate, I felt regret. I felt like I made a big decision. The worst decision of my life, really, was getting married. One of them. And then that night, you know, it's just sort of expected that, you know, the woman has to sleep with the man. I tell you, I didn't think that I would ever feel that way. I thought that when I got married that I would want to sleep with my husband, my new life partner. But that night, I actually felt like I needed to get away from him. I did not like the feeling. I did not want to have sex with him. But we did anyway. First night of being a married woman, I felt basically like spiritually pressured, socially pressured to have sex with a man whose name I took. I know, it's crazy. Keith writes, "Most of them are overpaid sex workers." Oh boy. Here we go. A man who thinks that they're owed sex. Most of them are overpaid sex workers that hate their husbands. Crazy world out there. Maybe try wearing a helmet. If she's posting this, break up with her. And I just responded, solid advice. Literally, all men like you should be single. I pray no good woman finds you because you don't deserve it. And then we have some community flagged comments. This one was from 𝙗𝗵𝗀𝙀𝘀. He said, LMAO, many women are paid and forgetting they are supposed to put out. That's what he said. He said, many women are paid and forgetting they are supposed to put out. And I responded, what laws say that women are supposed to put out? He never responded, of course. That's the end of that thread, of course. Like when you spell it out for him, like what they're looking for is a sex worker. They're not looking for a partner or a wife or a friend even. They're looking for a live-in a prostitute. Okay. It's kind of fucked up. It's just what it is. Am I over this? I think that was my only post. Hold on. Yeah, I have some more notes, but I'm really kind of getting tired of talking. And I am basically over it right now. Ending on a positive note, I work at a hotel, pretty nice hotel in Sedona, Arizona. And a couple days ago, I heard it was actually a beautiful sight to see. I work overnight, so I'm there from 11 o'clock at night to like 7 o'clock in the morning, all wee hours of the night. It was right around like 6 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning when people are starting to wake up. There's this group of men who are staying with us. That's probably like maybe 4 or 5 of them all together. They're adult men. They're not like my age adult. They're like probably a little bit older than me, probably like early 40s, early 50s. These are well-established adult men, mature adult men. And it was a beautiful sight to see because they were all like getting their coffee in the morning, and they were coming down one by one and meeting up in the lobby. I guess they were going to go, go out and adventure together. But as they were waiting and sitting in the lobby, they were all having a very mature, calm, rational discussion about the women in their lives. It was actually beautiful to see. Women, and in case you ever wonder if men ever talk about women the way that we talk about them, some of them do. Like, I don't think I've ever seen, or it's been a while since I've seen just the level of maturity and respect that these men were having towards each other in conversation, and when they were speaking of their wives. And they were speaking of all kinds of things. They were talking about the things that they love about their women. They were talking about their struggles, like, she feels this, but I can't explain to her that I feel this. Like, they were genuinely reaching out for each other, trying to, be better for the women in their lives. And it warmed my heart to hear. Like, they had a long discussion. They were in the lobby for at least 45 minutes, passing stories back and forth about their loved ones, and good stories, inspirational stories that had, some challenges. It was really beautiful to see. So yes, that just made me have a little bit of faith in the male gender as a whole. Just seeing those adult men, they didn't have any women around them. They weren't chasing hoes. They weren't like partying. They got up early and they came down, and they all, had a mature discussion about the women in their lives, that they all love the women in their lives. I pray that love like that finds all the women who want that in their lives. I pray that we have more mature men like that. So that was me ending it on a good note. Now I'm going to go into the J. Cole Fall Off Weekly Review, and then I'm going to be done. I'm really fucking tired. I have to go to work in a few hours. It's hot as hell as well. Thank you all for listening this far. If you are not a J. Cole fan or a hip hop fan, this is the end of the podcast for you. I say the big news for the week for me, as far as the Fall Off tour is concerned, is I actually want to go find this girl's name really quick. Okay, this girl was in I believe the Philly. It was either, he's doing a world tour on the Fall Off tour, and right now, well, when I heard this story, he was in Philly. This was either the first night or the second night in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Well, this girl, her TikTok is Tiana MSXO. She's totally just became famous overnight. Absolute goat. She's been goated. Shout out to her. Shout out to everyone who recorded this beautiful goddess. She went bar for bar with J. Cole at his concert on one of these nights in Philly. She had a sign that says, "I can go bar for Johnny P's Caddy," which is the song that he's been going bar for bar with a lucky fan at all of his shows. So there's momentum building. I imagine that like on the first show when he did bar for bar versus the show he did now, like everyone kind of knows that he's going to call someone for bar. So everyone's like studying that song. She did not miss a step. I just want to say she is absolutely goated because she bodied this bar for bar, word for word. And oh my God, I want to give her flowers. She understood the assignment. She did not miss a single fucking word. And yeah, that's a real fan right there. I believe that J. Cole was really fucking proud to see that. He was, he's an artist. He's rapping his music to someone else who likes his music. So I think it was a beautiful thing. That's basically the biggest news that I have fall off tour wise. Let me get into my my listening stats for the week, and then that'll be it. So today is the 28th. It's the last Tuesday in July. We're going to be in August next week. I can't believe this year is just flying by right now. So I'm going to read the stats from July 20th through July 26th. It says that I listened to 116 artists between July 20th and July 26th on Spotify. My top 5 artists for that week. Number 1, of course, J. Cole. He's been number 1 since the Fall Off dropped in February. Number 2 was Drake, of course. He's been number 2 since Iceman dropped in May. And then we have Boss, Dreamville, and Future, who are all on the Fall Off or associated with J. Cole. They're my bottom 3, 4, and 5 artists for the week. And then we're going to go to the songs. I think my songs are all over the place this week because Yeah. Okay. I'm looking at my top 5 songs right now. And for July 20th through July 26th, my top 5 songs are all J. Cole songs. They're all J. Cole songs, but only 3 of them are from The Fall Off. One of them is from Friday Night Lights, and then one was from Forest Hills Drive. That's my number 1 song for the week. My number 1 song for the week, which I don't even remember listening to the song, No Role Models. Like, I like that song, but it's so popular and catchy, I don't remember listening to it. Apparently, I listened to it 24 times this past week. And number 2 is Safety with 21 plays. Safety should have been number 1, really, because I've been listening to that song nonstop. It's like every day I listen to it. It's the first thing I play off The Fall Off. When I put on The Fall Off, I've played The Fall Off every single day since I discovered the album. 2026 is the year for 2-6. My top 3 song for the week is Two-Face. That is an undercover banger. It's an old school banger. He was singing it actually at his shows. Two-Face is a great fucking song. I only had 10 plays, and it came out on one of his earlier albums, Friday Night Lights. And Friday Night Lights is in my opinion, probably his best pre-Forest Hill Drives album. You hear the hunger in his voice. You feel his passion. And Two-Face is on Friday Night Lights. I would say Friday Night Lights is probably his best pre-Forest Hill Drives album. And then post-Forest Hills Drive album, I mean, just my opinion, I love Off Season and The Fall Off, of course, but Off Season is it for me. But yeah, Two-Face was my top 3 played songs. I had 10 plays this week. Number 4 was The Let Out with 10 plays. Banger song. And number 5, of course, was Bombs in the Ville, Hit the Gas with 10 plays. Thank you all for listening. I will see you guys next week.